The amphitheater buzzed with anticipation as 200 cadets from across the Galactic Coalition filled the observation decks. Avery Chin stood in the preparation chamber, her human frame dwarfed by the towering Krolthan warriors and the sleek, four-armed Vexians who had already completed their trials. Through the transparent aluminum walls, she could see the combat arena, a sprawling battlefield littered with obstacles, synthetic terrain, and automated defense systems. "The human looks fragile," chittered a Vexian cadet, its translator rendering the words in cold, clinical tones. "Earth gravity is only 0.97 standard. How did she even qualify?" James Rodriguez, the only other human in the cohort, clenched his jaw from his position in the stands. He'd passed his combat exam 3 days ago, barely meeting the minimum requirements. The instructors had been unimpressed. Humans were new to the coalition, their planet recently discovered, and the prevailing opinion was clear. They were weak Deathworlders, if such a contradiction could exist. Avery rolled her shoulders, feeling the familiar weight of her standard-issue combat suit. No enhancements, no gravity assists. The rules were simple. Survive the combat simulation for 15 minutes against increasingly difficult automated opponents. Most species aimed for the minimum. The record was held by a Krolthan who'd lasted 23 minutes before requesting extraction. The buzzer sounded. Avery stepped onto the platform that would lower her into the arena. "Cadet Chun." The proctor's voice resonated through the chamber. "You may request handicap adjustments given your species' lower gravity origin and reduced bone density compared to coalition standards." She could hear the murmurs. They expected her to accept. "Negative, Proctor. Standard parameters." The platform descended. The arena floor was harsh beneath her boots, rough terrain designed to simulate a hostile colony world. Immediately, 3 combat drones materialized from hidden panels, their weapons systems online. They were set to stun, but the pain would be real. Avery moved. What the coalition species had failed to understand about Earth wasn't just its gravity or its oxygen content. It was the crucible of evolution that had forged humanity. While the Krolthans had evolved on a high-gravity world with abundant resources, and the Vexians had developed on a temperate paradise with few predators, Earth was different. Earth was a death world not because of its environmental extremes, but because of its biological warfare. Avery dodged the first plasma burst with a fluidity that made the observing cadets lean forward. Her reaction time, honed by a predator-prey evolutionary arms race that had lasted millions of years, allowed her to process threats faster than species from safer worlds. She rolled beneath the second drone's fire, came up running, and used a terrain obstacle to vault herself into striking range, her fist connected with the drone's chassis. The machine sparked and fell. "Impossible," breathed a Vexian instructor. "Those drones are military-grade alloy." James smiled. He knew what they didn't. Avery had been a mixed martial arts champion before joining the Coalition Academy. But more than that, she was human, a species that had conquered a world filled with microscopic killers, venomous creatures, apex predators, and environmental hazards that would have driven other species extinct. The arena escalated. 6 drones now, with enhanced shields and heavier weapons that Avery's breathing remained steady. Another gift from Earth, an endurance that other species couldn't match. While Krolthans were strong and Vexians were agile, humans were persistent hunters. They could run prey into exhaustion, fight for hours, and keep going when logic said to quit. She dismantled the drones with brutal efficiency, using their own positioning against them, exploiting microsecond delays in their coordination. Her human brain, evolved for pattern recognition, strategic thinking, and throwing calculations that could predict ballistic trajectories, turned the battlefield into a chessboard. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. The automatic extraction didn't trigger. Avery didn't request it. The arena's difficulty increased beyond standard parameters. This was uncharted territory. 12 drones now, including heavy assault models designed for siege warfare. The observation deck had gone silent. Avery's combat suit was scorched, her breathing heavier, but her eyes held something the Coalition had rarely seen. The determination of a species that had clawed its way to the top of a hostile food chain through sheer stubbornness. She adapted. When conventional tactics failed, she innovated. She used destroyed drone parts as improvised weapons and shields. She exploited terrain the designers hadn't expected anyone to use. She moved with the efficiency of a predator that had learned to conserve energy for the killing below point 20 minutes. 23. 25. James was on his feet now, along with every other cadet. The instructors had activated communication channels, their voices overlapping in a dozen languages, all expressing the same thing. Shocked at T32 minutes, Avery finally triggered her extraction beacon. Not because she had to, but because she destroyed every combat drone the arena could deploy. She stood in the center of a battlefield of sparking metal and scorch marks, barely standing, but standing nonetheless. The observation deck erupted as the medical team cleared her for minor injuries. Nothing more than bruising and exhaustion. The head combat instructor, a grizzled Krolthan veteran named Throck, approached her. Cadet Chun. His translator carried a tone the device rarely captured, respect. In my 40 years of instruction, I have never witnessed such a performance. I must ask how. Avery looked up at him, then at the assembled cadets who had dismissed humanity as weak. She thought of Earth, beautiful, deadly Earth, with its hurricanes and earthquakes, its viruses and bacteria, its predators and prey locked in eternal struggle. Sir, she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, you've all evolved on worlds that made you strong or fast or resilient. Earth made us survivors. We didn't just adapt to our world, we conquered it. Every human is descended from ancestors who outlasted ice ages, outran predators, outsmarted prey, and survived plagues that killed millions. We're not the strongest species, or the fastest, or the most resilient. She paused, meeting Throck's eyes. We're the most stubborn. And in combat, that's what matters most. James pushed through the crowd to reach her, pride evident on his face. Around them, the Coalition cadets looked at the two humans with new eyes. The perception had shifted in 32 minutes. Earth wasn't a weak death world. It was the kind of death world that created something far more dangerous than brute strength or speed. It created warriors who refused to quit,